welcome to It's a Purl Thing. My name is JD, and you can find me on Instagram as It's a Purl Thing and on Ravelry as lilknitterj, like little but L-I-L, knitter, and then lowercase letter j. This is technically episode number 8, but the last time I did this was December of 2014, so it's been a little while, and I'm really nervous because typically before when I did this I was in the basement of my parents' house and no one was home, and now I'm here and I'm actually at my boyfriend's house and almost all of his roommates are here, so I'm a little afraid of sounding like a doofus, but hopefully I can avoid that and we'll just keep going. This is take 2. So yeah, since the last time we talked, I moved to Austin. That was actually the month after I last recorded. And I think I may have talked about that a little bit. I was planning on continuing to record. However, after I moved in and got settled, my computer died and it was right in the middle of the semester. So I had to hurry out and get another computer. And when I did, I got not the cheapest one they had, but like the next step up. And unfortunately, that computer has like no memory. So if I wanted to record, I would have had to record straight through from the beginning of the podcast to the end with 0 mistakes or things to edit out and upload it directly from my camera to YouTube. And that just didn't happen. And I tried, I think 3 times just throughout my course of living there, and I never was able to make it work. So here I am, I'm here now. My sweet boyfriend is letting me use his camera and we're gonna use his computer and it's all gonna go on and look great and sound great, hopefully, fingers crossed. So while I was living in Austin, I worked at a pie shop and sold pies, and I really enjoyed that. I never knew that I was really a salesperson, and so I kind of got to learn that and grow in that. And also while living in Austin, my local yarn shop was Hill Country Weavers, and I don't know if you know anything about Hill Country Weavers, and I'm sure everyone kind of feels this way about their local yarn shop, but I really fell in love with that place. It's just, so in Austin, one of the main tourist destinations, I guess you could say, is South Congress, which is just a street that has a bunch of shops and restaurants, and there used to be a food truck trailer parking lot, and I think they eventually took over that and built in that area, but that used to be there, and so it used to be kind of a congregating area for tourists. But also on that street is Hill Country Weavers, and it's just in this cute little old house. It's bright green. They've since I moved there, they painted some murals on there, and they're actually unfortunately going to be moving, but it's really adorable. And just kind of, you walk in and there's just yarn everywhere, and you wind through all of the little rooms in that house, and there's just any brand of yarn or fiber content that you can think of, they have it. So coming from only ever ordering yarn online to anything I could possibly imagine was amazing. And the ladies there were incredibly sweet. I pretty quickly became a regular, and they recognized me, and it became part of home for me, and I really enjoyed it. So shortly after moving to Austin, I started talking to my now boyfriend, and the reason we started talking is we met through a mutual friend, and he wanted some hand-knitted socks, and I was like, hey, I can do that. So we started talking, we found out we had a lot in common, and I did eventually knit him socks, but he didn't pay for them. We just started dating, and he's assured me that he is not in the relationship for the socks, but you never know. So, for people who are brand new to this and brand new to me, I've been knitting most of my life now at this point, it feels like. I started crocheting actually first, and my Nana taught me how to crochet when I was 12. Pretty shortly after that, I remember laying in bed and there was a sweater hanging up on my little coat rack. And I just remember looking at it and wanting to know how it worked. So pretty shortly after crocheting, I bought a book and taught myself how to knit. After that, I kind of gave up knitting for a while just because it's a little more complicated than crochet. And there's more at risk because with crochet you can't drop stitches, and everyone knows that's kind of like the main crocheter's objection to knitting. Anyone I talk to who's not a knitter but crochets, they're like, oh, but you can drop stitches and you can't do that in crochet. So that was my main objection. And also just because I'd been crocheting for so long, I was able to speed crochet just really quickly. And I did not like how hard knitting was for me as a new skill, and I didn't have the muscle memory, so I just didn't enjoy it as much, and I kind of gave it up until eventually I found the Yarn Harlot, like we all seem to do, and was just inspired to branch out and learn how to make new and more exciting things. And crochet then quickly fell by the wayside. So after that, I was a solid addicted knitter for several years, and eventually started thinking about learning how to spin. And finally, in my parents' town, there's an event that happens called Heritage Days, and people dress up in old-fashioned clothes and reenact things, and that was really one of my favorite parts about living there. So one year there was a vendor who was selling drop spindles, and she hooked me up and gave me my first lesson and a drop spindle and a little bit of fiber, and from there I started spinning. So I don't actually have any spinning to talk about now, but hopefully eventually I will get back into it. It's been hard with all of the moving and everything that's been going on. So that's kind of one of the things. I can take my knitting with me anywhere, but I want to be able to set myself up. I like to sit on a tall stool when I knit or when I spin, just so that I don't have to stand and I can get the longest single I can. So that's about it for me. My knitting goals, starting at the beginning of this year, I decided for the first time that I wanted to have some goals for things that I wanted to accomplish this year, just to kind of hold myself accountable and be a better knitter. So I'll go ahead and read those to you, and then I will tell you about the things I finished recently. So my knitting goals for 2016 are to make blankets for both of my brothers, to make an Evenstar Shawl, which is just, I want to start creating some heirloom pieces, and that's one that I've wanted to make for a really long time. I want to knit with more hand spun. I want to finish or frog all of my works in progress from 2015 or later, and that's just kind of something that has been weighing on me, because when you start a project and then you decide you're not in love with it and it gets put in the hibernating pile and it just languishes, I'm really bad at leaving them for actual years. So that's something I really want to be better at. I want to knit at least one sweater, and I want to finish with less stash. Don't we all? So those are my 2016 knitting goals. I figure I'll tell you those right off the bat, and as we go through this, you can kind of see where I'm at. So for finished objects, I did finish 2 blankets for my brothers. I finished them literally the day before I left Austin, and I will see if I can insert a picture here. Both of my brothers are over 6 feet tall. Well, one is over 6 feet, the one is a little under actually. So it was really important that they were long enough for them. So I decided I was going to crochet these blankets probably before Christmas of this past year, because I was going to try to have them finished. That did not happen, but I was going to try. So I started crocheting those also in an effort to use up the stash that I had. I wanted all of my acrylic stash gone before I moved, and I did know that I was going to be moving. So I started those, and I finished really impressively. My boyfriend and I were in the process of packing the car and getting things ready to drive to Georgia. But those blankets needed to be finished. So we kind of just sat down on the floor and I finished the last couple of rows. And as I was doing that, he was tying the fringe on the sides because I left the edges raw, just left the strings hanging off. And he helped me and we finished it, and then we mailed them that night to my family. So those are finished and it feels really good. After finishing them, I did have like a big plastic trash bag full of acrylic yarn still. So I took that and gave it to a girl I'd been working with who was just starting to get into crochet, and she was really excited. So I had been thinking about just taking it to Joann's and just being done, but it made me really happy that I could kind of push it off onto someone who's new and excited about using it and who doesn't know any better yet. So those are finished. I have also finished, this is the Flax Light baby sweater by Tin Can Knits. So this is knit using US 2s and 5s, which is the recommended needle size, and it's on Ella Rae Lace Merino, and the color is 141 greens and browns. So because I used the recommended needle size, my gauge is a little tighter than most people's. So it started out being pretty small, and I was like, okay, I'll roll with this. I planned on just making it a little bit more narrow and smaller because this is for a baby that's being born in December. So what happened was I was knitting and knit the yoke part probably a full inch deeper, and then realized what... Okay, so apparently I can only record for about 12 minutes at a time before the camera stops. So I will continue telling you about this little sweater. So knitting the yoke of this, knitting it at a smaller gauge, and then in the 0 to 6 months, I believe, the smallest size that they have, I realized the yoke was going to be way too deep, and I only realized this after knitting almost the entire sweater. I had the whole body finished and one of the sleeves, and just was not happy with it. So I frogged the sweater, all of it. If you followed me on Instagram, it was really sad. But I restarted it and I'm much happier now with the way that it looks. So when I restarted it, I decided to follow the Tin Can Knits project on their project page called the Flax Hack. And what they did was made the collar shorter, and then I just followed the measurements that they were using for the newborn size. However, I did add about half to a full inch, I think a ½ inch, in all of the areas that they gave a measurement, just so that it would fit a little bit longer than just the first month after the baby was born. So really, really happy with the way that it turned out. So yeah, that is that. And I did have a good bit of yarn left, and I've not decided what I'm going to make with the leftover. I've thought about doing a coordinating hat or maybe some colorwork socks, just something small and cute, but this is a lot of yarn. So that's exciting, and it means I have a lot of options of things to make. The next thing that I've finished are these socks, and I left my show notes over there, so I'm gonna grab those. So these socks are the Ringwood Socks, and I have finished them, and you can't tell, but I have not woven any ends in. These are by Tess Young, and they're made out of some Regia and some Cascade Heritage on US size 2s. I don't know the colorway, but I do intend to make project pages for all of the things that I'm talking about. If I haven't already, I've been a little bit better about keeping up my project pages. So these will have a project page, and will hopefully have the color once I search and find out what they are. They are for a friend of mine and my mom's. She's actually my mom's best friend from her childhood. So I'm quite excited about them and excited that they're finished, because I wanted to move on to some other socks. So there are those. I have a half-finished object. Okay, basically I'm talking about all of the things that I've been working on since a little bit before I've moved and now that I'm here, just to kind of update you since it's been so long. All right, so this is also no ends woven in, super simple short sock by Megan Holcomb using Patton's Croy on US 1.5s, and I'm looking at my show notes, sorry. So my boyfriend likes the socks that I've knit him, but was adamant that he would wear hand knit socks more if they were shorter, just because he's always warm and having really long socks just makes things even more warm. So these are in the works, and it's just Patton's Croy because I had some that needed to be used up, and I figured very low risk if he doesn't like them. It's fine. So there's the one. The other one is about halfway finished. The one advantage to these is that they are much less work when knitting for a huge giant foot. I don't have, a while back I had him let me trace his foot to do the fish lips kiss heel pattern for him, and next time I record, I'll hold that one up next to mine just so you can see the ridiculous size difference, but I'm sure you can tell this is not a small foot. So those are in the works and should be done pretty quickly. I knocked out half of the other one in a day, so looking forward to finishing those as well, just because Patton's Croy is not the most fun yarn to work with because it's not fancy. So there's that. I don't have the colorway on that one either. You probably know what it is because it's a Patton's Croy yarn and we all use it. So probably will create a project page for these as well. If you're really curious, you can send me a message on Instagram or Ravelry and I will figure it out and tell you. All right, so now we're moving on to my actual works in progress, the things that I'm currently working on. I guess the hat project is still a work in progress, but okay. In following with my knitting goals, this is the Evenstar, and I am currently on the 3rd lace chart. There's no good way to show you this, but I'm knitting it a size up just because my gauge is usually tighter. I did swatch and block my swatch for the first time ever. I don't normally do that at all, and I just thought it looked better on US 4s. So it is knit on probably the softest yarn that I've ever used in my entire life. This is Road to China lace, and I believe the colorway is Riverstone. Let me find here it is. Okay, so the fiber content of this is 65% baby alpaca, 10% cashmere, 10% camel, 15% silk, and each ball is 656 yards. So I purchased 3. Where is it? Here it is. This is my first skein, which is amazing. I'm sure now that I'm kind of into the 3rd chart section, it's gonna start moving a lot faster yardage wise. So I have my 2nd skein caked up. I don't even know if I'm gonna need to break into the 3rd skein. So that may be something completely different, but I really love the yarn and I love working with it because it is so amazingly soft. So yeah, I'm hoping to have this finished before the end of the year. If I don't, it's not a huge deal to me, but I'm just glad that I got it started. This is in a bag that I purchased on Etsy called a thingamy bag. The lady who makes it, I bought it, it's from someone in the UK, and AARTEE Designs. So if you're interested, I can link you in the bottom if you're wanting to see it. I'll try to do show notes since I did write up show notes, but yeah, it's a lovely little bag, and it's not made specifically for knitting. It's made for thingamy bag. So it didn't come with the price tag that knitting project bags usually do, which is a big thing for me because I'm a broke college student and I'd rather buy yarn with my money than fancy bags. So there's that. Now, excuse me while I turn the page. The next thing that I'm working on is another baby project. The person having the baby is my boyfriend's best friend who lives in Canada. So I'm just having a lot of fun, basically making all of the tin can knits patterns that I've wanted to for a long time. So this just needs some short sleeves added on. This is the Prairie Fire by Tin Can Knits. I'm knitting it on the recommended needle size, US 4s and 6s, just because it's a December baby, it doesn't need to be big. There doesn't really need to be a whole lot of room to grow because they can wear it as soon as they're born. So this is Barocco Vintage DK. I believe the colorway is Cerulean, if that's how you say it. But also it'll get a project page and I'll confirm the colorway there. So I'm enjoying it a lot. I do also have a lot of yarn left over. I don't know what this will become after the sleeves are done, but I'm thinking maybe just a small little baby vest, something simple and sweet, because she's very knit worthy and I know that she'll take care of it and that she'll appreciate whatever I make. I'm kind of just going hog wild and loving every minute of it. So the next and also last baby thing that I'm knitting, other than random little assorted socks and things, I'm going to try to just keep it to these projects and just use stash yarn and not go out and buy more yarn, because for a little bit I was using it as an excuse to purchase more fun yarn. And this is the Vivid Blanket, which I've been wanting to knit for ages. Here is my one blocked square. Of course the ends are not woven in, but so there's that. I don't have the colorway names for you, but I have this purple one, green, a lighter grayish brown, teal, brick red, and then dark brown. And I'm going to order a straw colored yarn as well, just to kind of round it out. I'm knitting this on, let me see what the recommended needle size. I'm knitting in a needle size up from the recommended size. It is on US size 5, so I'm knitting it on US size 6s, and it's still blocking up a little smaller than what it's recommended to, but I think that's okay. I'm just gonna roll with it. The last thing that I'm working on, because everyone is working on them and I just wanted to get it on it, are the smooth operator socks. Because who doesn't love afterthought heels? Except for the way they fit most of the time. So I figured I'd give them a second try. This is Fiber Nymph Dye Works Soft Kitty, and these are US 1.5s. It's going really well, pretty quickly. For a long time I was knitting socks 2 at a time, and that just takes so much longer. So now I'm just doing them 1 at a time and loving how fast they go. Okay, this starting and stopping is killing me a little bit, but I was talking about these afterthought heel socks, and I am just really excited to be giving them another chance. It's really cute because people try to relate to me using sock knitting methods, and so when I'm in public and I'm knitting a sock and they're like, oh, you knit toe up, and I'm like, sometimes I do, but I also like top down. And just, especially now that the Fish Lips Kiss heel is such a thing, people are excited to connect with me over that. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes I like it, but I do also really like doing a heel flap sometimes. It just depends. So I feel a little bad that I'm so hard to connect with about socks. Sometimes I like to knit 2 at a time, and sometimes I like to knit 1 at a time, and it just depends on my mood. I also forgot to mention that the yarn for the Vivid Blanket is Louet Gems, just little 50 gram skeins. I like them. They're pretty soft. I'm interested to see how they're gonna wash. I'm not sure how that's gonna go, but I think it'll be fine. They're super wash, so. Okay, The only other thing I really have to talk about are my acquisitions. Because I've had to record this a couple of times. They were all bagged up nicely in their bags of where they came from. We'll just have to work that out. So, the last thing I purchased in Austin is Mrs. Crosby, and this is her train case base, which is 55% superwash merino, 15% nylon, and 30% outlast, which is just another synthetic. And this is the Wildflowers colorway, which is why I purchased it. It is a colorway that you can only get at Hill Country Weavers. It's dyed specially for them, and because Texas wildflowers. So I needed something that would be very Austin-y, and while I do have a lot of yarn from Hill Country Weavers, this is just a little more special. I don't quite know what I'll make with it. I feel like socks would be a little bit of a waste since I would wear through them. Maybe a shawl or a hat or something that'll last a little longer. The next thing is something that my boyfriend actually ordered on Etsy, and this is for socks for him. He's a little bit picky. He's not huge into colors. So this is Bayview Fiber Arts, and you can find them on Etsy under that name. And it's British BFL sock yarn, 80/20 superwash BFL nylon, and it is in the colorway Chocolate and Wine number 4. I don't know what the number 4 is. So it's a really deep, plummy, maybe sort of burgundy color and a brown. Probably going to be more super simple short socks just because that works best for him, but if I had my way, they would be typical longer cuff with really beautiful cables because it's so such rich colors. I think it would look really regal with cables. So there's that. He does, because he bought it, he gets to pick. He gets to decide. The next thing I got is from the Cast On Cottage here in Georgia, and it is Annie Yarn, which is a local dyer. Their logo is really cute. Sorry, I don't know if the lens that we're using right now does not have autofocus, so I'm trying to be careful. This is in the colorway Mocha, and it's in their butterfly sock base, which is 75/25 superwash merino nylon, and it's just a really nice brown. Originally I bought it thinking I would do socks, but I'm also thinking about maybe doing a colorwork shawl. I have a couple in mind. I would just have to buy more yarn for a contrasting color, so we'll see. It may just stay in the stash for a while until I'm ready. So a week ago, almost to the day, I went on a road trip first to Nashville and then to Galena, Illinois, which is right by Iowa and also Wisconsin. So I knew that I wanted to stop in Illinois for yarn. I wanted to stop in not Illinois, Tennessee. I knew I wanted to get something in Nashville. So that was my one yarn stop that I had planned. I went to, I don't need to pick up the bag. It's from the House of Yarn, and they had signs out for SSK, which I was really a little bit sad about, that I hadn't been able to kind of catch any of that. But it's just Yavo in the colorway. Is there a colorway? Is it a number? I think it's just a number. 902.0016, I think. I don't know. It's very Halloween-y because it's got the orangey and the purple and the brown. Very fall. So we'll see how long this stays in the stash and if it ends up being knit up. But I was wanting more because I've knit a pair of socks out of this and just really was impressed with how they turned out. So I purchased that. And then actually in Galena itself, we were exploring the shops downtown. Galena is a really, really adorable place. Just really cute. I think it's a pretty big vacation spot. They have a really nice resort there. So I wasn't expecting to purchase any more yarn. I'd gotten my Nashville yarn stop out of the way, and we were in a coffee shop and we walked out, and there right in front of me was this little bitty yarn shop called Fiber Wild. There's the bag. just really, really cute and quaint and precious. And they did have some local yarn that I really liked. I ended up getting 3 skeins. So they are, let me read the ball band, 50 gram skeins, 235 yards a skein. And it's actually, not only is it grown locally, but it is farmed using 19th century farming techniques, which is something that really drew me in. It smells really sheepy, pretty musty, but as a knitter, it's amazing. And what I really like is that they give you the names of the sheep that grew this yarn. So some of the names of the sheep: Left Ear, Booger, Woolly Ben, Goat, Brought Boy, and Brought Boy the Second. It's just really cute, and you can kind of see they have pictures of some of them on their little ball bands. But what's really cool is because they have so many different sheep and so many different colors of sheep, obviously these aren't dyed, they're natural, but they combine the wools to get the colors of the yarn, which is just really neat. So yeah, that is my Galena yarn. And then in Dubuque, Iowa, some friends and I were out getting coffee, and I think they do this on purpose, the yarn shop owners, because they know that as knitters we need coffee and tea, so they put their yarn shops right next to the coffee shops. I'm sure they're in cahoots. But we were going to go get coffee and there was another yarn shop, and in there I just got some trekking because I love it, and the colorway is perfect. It's got the pinky salmony color that's basically my favorite color, and then some greens, a tealy color, a mustardy color. It all just works really well together, and I was really excited about it. And my friends kind of got to see me in my yarn fume glory, just excited about yarn, which was kind of fun. They'd never been in a yarn shop, so converting the muggles. So yeah, that is all of the yarn that I have to talk about. I do still have a Ravelry group, I believe, so I'm going to hopefully post the show notes in the Ravelry thread. I don't know yet how all of this is gonna look. I'm not a huge one for knit-alongs because I have a really hard time being constrained to deadlines, but I would love to be a little more active and communicate a little more with people who watch. I stopped podcasting pretty soon after making the Ravelry group, which was really sad, and I feel like people were just starting to kind of come in and kind of try to connect just as I fell off the face of the earth. So I'd like to come back. I'd like to be back. I'm really thankful to all of the people who've continued to follow me on Instagram and are watching this after 2 years of me being gone. And I'm really excited. If you're new and you're just watching me for the first time, I'm really glad you're here. I'm really glad to kind of be back and start connecting with people. So yeah, we'll figure it out together. If you have feedback or just some thoughts that you'd like to share with me, I would really love to hear them. You can send them to me on Instagram or on Ravelry. Either way works perfectly. So yeah, I think that's all I have. I will hopefully, I'm not sure about doing this every week, but every 1 to 2 weeks I would like to have a video up. We'll see. I know some other podcasters that I really enjoy watching do about every 10 days. Could work really well for me. We'll see. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.